that you need to turn it down all the way. It's still.
I tried. It won't go all the way down.
Okay. Oh,
Great. Ouch. Okay. I don't know how to turn this volume off. Let's do sound here.
Okay. I'm going to turn it off on this end. Okay.
Oh, that's a great idea. Hello, everyone.
You can still hear us through the StreamYard.
Yeah. Well, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with the Whitmore sisters, Eleanor and Bonnie Whitman. For anyone that doesn't know, Bonnie is an epic artist musician, as is Eleanor, and I've been a big fan of theirs for so many years now. Bonnie's played bass and sung with some of the biggest artists in American genre. And she's maintained a weekly residency at the legendary Continental Club in Austin. Her last album, which was her second album, Last Will and Testament, came out in October last year. And I love that record, and it's really powerful, incredible sound. And Eleanor is one half of the Mastersons, singer-songwriters and multi-instrumentalists, Chris Masterson and Eleanor Whitman. And they tour with Steve Earle in his band, and they write and record and produce their own music, which is incredible. And their last record, No Time for Love Songs, came out last year, made with Shooter Jennings and Ryan Freeland. So it's so brilliant to be opening this discussion with you both, two women I admire so much, and I'm always so inspired by your music, and to actually talk with you today is amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us. I was kind of giddy all day after you called.
Oh, well, I have to admit, I've gone an accidental hour early, so Eleanor and Bonnie are just heroes for looking this gorgeous, no matter the hours. Thank you. So in the week leading up to International Women's Day, next Monday, I'm having conversations with women in music worlds, an open chat about creativity, life, artistic process, values, passions, experiences in the workplace, what connects us and what's important to us. So I'd love to start with you both on a question focused on International Women's Day. What changes in creative industries or in any workplace would you both and individually like to see happening for women and girls?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. I think mostly it would be nice to have less of the objectification of women. So much of what our importance is based on our physical attributes. And I really wish that and it's not the same for men, you know? So it'd be nice to have women being treated more equally on par as men, not being judged, not being pinned against each other. And what I've personally been doing a lot, and I think Eleanor has too, is creating more community within our female artist friends and participants.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. Having that community means you can discuss and share, and then there's some sense of accountability as well in the music community. How about you, Eleanor?
I think it's I just have always noticed that there's some artists, male and female, that don't hire or work with other women. And I've always been really grateful for the people that have hired me because of my talents. And there's a lot of women like Kelly Willis and Allison Moore who, you know, asked me to work with them. And I just feel so grateful for that because they championed me. And stupid echo is killing me.
Oh, I've turned off my phone volume and I've got my computer volume on. I hope that's working for everyone.
Well, I think that might be part of the problem is if you have two things going at once with the sound. So we've cut off our sound on the computer.
Yep. I've cut off my sound on the phone, so fingers crossed.
I'll try it that way.
We can't turn it down all the way is a problem.
That's the problem. Sorry, folks. It's my first time on here, so I feel I may be contributing to the
That's actually it's still there.
Get rid of the echo.
If anyone online here knows how to get rid of the echo, please let us know.
Let's just see if that does a little bit better.
Is that any better?
Maybe. It is better.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I just I've noticed that there's some gigs that just kind of don't happen because I know it's not because of the talent sometimes. So I've just noticed a discrimination in the music business, and I've been really grateful for the artists that have included me and not excluded.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Sometimes it does take fellow artists to change the narrative versus expecting industry to change it. And I love that actually, that we do have the power amongst ourselves to discuss this and understand what actually would work better for everyone. Because let's be frank, if people didn't get to hear you because of limitations, then everyone's losing out. So
I think it just also means going beyond, like, I feel like a lot of times it's like they get hung up of like, where are you going to sleep? Like, because you're a woman, you have to have a separate, whatever. And it's like,
they don't want to pay for the extra hotel room.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why they say no to that. And I think that a lot of those reasons are because they're not thinking outside of what their narrow mind is.
It's a really good point, Bonnie. In fact, this isn't a man or woman question. This is a human being question. I think most people want to get in a bed and, get changed without someone else being there, unless they want them to be there, which is a different story.
Yes.
So talking about these other female artists that have brought you into different environments, can you share some experiences where you felt working alongside women has been really positive? Because sometimes, unfortunately, it's happened to me a couple of times, threat dynamic with women. And then I'm so keen to be really upfront with whoever that dynamic is happening with and saying, listen, no one can take away from your artistry. I respect you. Thank you for what you do. And also, I'm going to stand here and be the channel that I am. That can't threaten you. And I want to support you. And I hope you can support me too, to be ourselves. Have you experienced both sides of the coin? What's been your take on this?
Oh, I've lost a couple of gigs, I think, predominantly because of that. I think that's always kind of a rub regardless, if you've got too much stage presence, you're always trying to add to something and not take away. But I do think that we have always been pinned against each other as women more so than another way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, I think I've always been really mindful of not just trying to be a quiet presence on stage when I'm supporting another artist, male or female. Mm-hmm. You don't want to detract from star vocals. But, some people just aren't comfortable with the power of Bonnie Whitmore.
Well, the other problem is if, I had an experience where I was being featured, no disparaging towards Hayes, but this was just an example. I was playing a gig with him, and he featured me nightly with this duet, which was amazing. Yeah. But when we would be sitting there talking to fans after the show, trying to sell merchandise, it doesn't do me and my job any good when the fan is telling me in front of my boss that I should be featured more and I should have this and so on and so forth. I'm like, are you trying to get me fired? This isn't helpful to me at all. So
no.
that there's that aspect of it. But I think ego is such a big part of music in general. And so we have to be very careful of your own ego. And if you're working with somebody, their ego, and trying to make sure to maintain the peace and really create something that's going to be appreciated as an audience,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think ego isn't a bad thing. We can't separate it in the brain, but to acknowledge that everyone has insecurities and everyone has strengths, and it's okay to struggle in different dynamics. The thing I find always really inspiring is when people are vulnerable themselves, and then I feel like, oh wow, takes the pressure off. You can be imperfect. I remember one time on stage with Leonard, he started playing Avalanche, and his hand, he was just going ding, 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 ding. It wasn't doing his chop that he called it. And the song completely translated as it ever did. And that only slightly readjusted my struggles with perfectionism, because I was like, oh, Leonard can do it, therefore I can mess up. And it doesn't mean the end of the world. So to move on to something about creativity, what feeling individually and together making this new album, the Whitmore Sisters debut, what feeling do you have when you're onto something creatively exciting? And how do you support your process?
We've just kind of come together with different ideas and just kind of seen them through, even if we weren't sure that it was the right song for the record, just to kind of get the process flowing.
Yeah.
We tried not to put too many parameters on the kind of songs that we were going to write, and just tried to get the juices flowing. So, one of us might come up with a line or a melody and bring that to the table to start. And then, we've gotten together over Zoom. Bonnie's usually in Austin, and I'm up here in LA. And we'll just kind of hear each other out and give each other the space to bring the idea forward, and then kind of see what the other person has to say about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we don't get in the way of the song and the creativity. I think that's the idea. It's like we let the creation be in control rather than us trying to control it for each other, for that matter. But I think that's always been my kind of approach. It's like, it's not so much about making something perfect or the best thing ever. It's about just getting it to completion and
breathing life into it.
Yeah. And when you do, and it comes out and it then becomes cohesive, and it's like, it's something that happens afterwards, not necessarily the driving force behind it.
Right. And do you think you can tell if you've got an idea that's really exciting or an idea that's quite good? Do you think early on if it's something that's really...
I have to have someone to sound off of. Like, I will think maybe I created something, but until Eleanor says that I like it, I need that feedback in order to know that it's okay.
I love that. It's brilliant. Yeah. And talking of being someone in a sister band ourselves with my sister Charlie, what are some of the dynamics you think really serve being in a duo band with your sister? And what are some of the things that you'd love to evolve with or shift?
Well, the communication is definitely a struggle sometimes. Like I'm like the least tactful person on the planet. Sometimes I'm very direct, and even in my mind, I think that I'm like delivering it in this positive way, and it just doesn't ever come out the way that I intend it to come out. And so we have a lot of those kind of dynamics happening between the two of us, where we just like explode into fire a lot. So, but that fire is also kind of what drives a lot of the creativity and the sparks. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that way.
Well, I think that we know how to push each other's buttons, but the idea is not to necessarily instigate a fight. But we definitely, I like the fact that we at least know how each other's feels about any, like there's nothing that's being hidden or harbored, under those circumstances. We might have a little explosion, might needed to go to our corners for a little bit, but we're not carrying that into the next, creative process or, bringing out hurt lockers or anything like that. Like, yeah. I think it's pretty healthy about it
easily, but
we definitely can zing each other pretty well though. So we try to keep that in mind. So to not go to that place.
But we also know each other so well that we can almost read each other's minds and avoid some of those conflicts too.
Right. Well, and as we learned from yesterday's photo shoot, is that we can't look each other without having like some sort of hysterical like laughter fit.
We're trying to get these like
serious, we're
moody, like serious photos, and like we just kept giggling. So that's kind of why I sent you the picture that I did.
I love that picture you sent me. Bonnie's gorgeous smile and your gorgeous everything as well. And yeah, it's amazing because looking at that picture, I just see curls, the most luscious pre-Raphaelite curls with both of you. Who has the curly hair, Jean?
Both our parents actually. Yeah. Dad's got waves and mom's got curls.
I mean, just stunning picture. I love it. So how do you, knowing that you are family and your friends as well, because that's something my sister and I always feel like we're really good friends, but family first, because that we didn't become friends until we were in our teenage years, really. So family first. How do you find the dynamics of balancing your creative process and then your family life, your personal needs, and the needs in your family and between the two of you?
We haven't figured it out. Sure. We're not good at balancing or juggling.
I was just hoping you were going to give me all the answers.
Hope it comes together,
Yeah, right. I have a tough time because the way my brain works, I kind of have this like circular like list of things going, and I'm very easily distracted and will branch off onto one task and then get wrapped up in something else. But I'm always coming back to the things that are important. It's hard to balance it. It's hard not to get worn out from all of the things that you're supposed to do to promote yourself and on social media and all that crap. And
thanks, social media.
Love you. Thanks, social media.
It's hard to find a balance, and I think that the pandemic, oddly enough, has kind of helped me find more of that because I've actually had the time and space to slow down a little bit and take care of myself and to do yoga and meditate and to find kind of more of a centered place. It's really easy to get worn out and burn out when you're traveling all the time and you're trying to
petrol emotion. If you're constantly moving forward, you're never stopping to be like, is this right? How do I feel? Like you don't get to check in with yourself nearly as much when you're just constantly moving and going. So it's been nice to just have a little slow down, but the balance is still really hard. I personally have a lot of issues with depression. That's sort of my constant in my life. But just I have to keep an eye on when I'm being mean to myself.
I have to keep an eye on when I'm being mean to myself. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I really relate to that. I think it's being sensitive is so important as an artist, but then to be tough enough to be an artist in the world is a slight contradiction. Jessica's just messaged, she's still getting some feedback. I'm not getting as much this end for some reason. How are you faring there? Still getting some feedback?
It's better. I can hear it some, but
yeah. Sorry about that.
I'm so like, why haven't we done this already? Let's just plug these into here.
Great. And we've got so many lovely people here with us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. So talking about managing stress, something that I've struggled with when I've been on tour. I find at the beginning of the tour, I'm like all guns blazing, fist pumping, totally grounded, powerful. And then suddenly I begin to feel a little bit fragile on stage, or some thoughts come in that I'm struggling with, and my perfectionism. And also if I do something wrong, I really struggle with managing that in myself. My sister's been amazing, and I've really learned a lot from her, because Charlie's really also very much aware of growing and understanding more about being grounded on stage. It's a definite journey. I've struggled at times intensely. Can you share any of the ways in which you relax and decompress before a show and after a show? And then the other side of it is when you are on stage and you're feeling overwhelmed or struggling, what are some of your tools in the toolkit to root down and be true to yourself and provide some kind of protection for your energy?
It's gonna sound so simple, but just breathing. It's one of the things that we really take for granted, and we're constantly holding our breath, clenching our jaw. You know, it's really hard to remind yourself to breathe. And I started to feel really overwhelmed when we were out on the road and started my meditation practice. And I was just amazed at just a simple, even a 2 or 3 minute meditation before I went on stage would just chill me out. And it's funny because sometimes some of the artists that you play with are like the complete opposite. They're like, they want to like powwow and chat, and they're just like, you know, I need like a little bit of a moment to myself before I get on stage so that I can like just get centered and then give it all when I get on stage. And I've had moments where I started to feel really overwhelmed on stage about one thing or another. And again, it's just like a real simple thing of just taking a breath in, reminding yourself to breathe out, and just recentering yourself. But I can't stress enough how meditation has really changed my life. It definitely took a while to kind of get into the practice, and you know, you have these questions like, am I doing this right? And just my mind is racing. I'm just sitting here and you're like stressing out about meditating, which is silly, but I kind of got a little bit deeper during the pandemic and started a program that is a lot of pranayama breath work, and it really calms the nervous system and really helps my lung game. It helps me later in the day when I'm feeling uncentered or feeling some urges, whatever, to drink, or you know, it just kind of helps me stay like really a lot more centered, and I recommend it.
Incredible. Thank you for that. How about you, Bonnie?
Well, I think my kind of issue is like same deal. I need to breathe. I realize now how much I hold my breath and how my emotions are always like right at the top. They're just ready to tumble over. So I don't need much of a push, and I use a lot of that in my performance.
Yeah.
I'm kind of terrible at talking, oddly enough. Like if I start talking on a microphone, I will go completely like stumble over words or whatever. But the moment that I start singing, I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
So I always feel safe.
Yeah.
I always feel safe within the music.
Yeah.
But I do the makeup thing in part as like a ritual, because that's what I do right before. It's like I get my war paint on, you know.
Yeah, makeup is like a really, as much as I hate putting it on, it really is kind of just a moment in the day that is just about me.
Just me, and
I can kind of make my mental lists for the day, or for the show, if you're, you know, doing that right before you go on stage. And I don't know, it's just like it's me time.
I really resonate with that. I also, sometimes when I put my makeup on before a show, I listen to some meditative Deepak or something of the like, and I notice I pick up the mascara wand insanely slowly. For some reason, I think I am going mad, but somehow it's helping me. Yeah, so I really resonate with that thought, and the breath work is just a game changer. I remember when I started to, there was a point at which I realized the middle of my chest here, when I was on stage, it was slightly concave. I was slightly with my shoulders hunched, maybe because of insecurity or worry. And then I remembered, hang on, what if I lift up this space around my heart? There's a bit more space, and heart, courage. I've got a bit more courage. And I realized each time I lift my chest bone, I feel a little bit less afraid. And then I started to do it more. But when I'm sitting at my computer, I'm literally hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm just like this the whole time. So I need to do it more often. But
I resonate with that a lot as well. We've Bonnie and I have been doing yoga together on Zoom a few days a week, and it's also something I do a lot before I go to bed, just some restorative yoga. But been doing a little bit of work with the chakras, and the heart chakra is a real big one on stage.
Yes, that's a beautiful thought. And what do you do? What kind of meditation or awareness do you have for your heart chakra to support that space?
Well, a lot of times in our yoga class, we'll do a Sufi grind and kind of just like become aware of each chakra as you're going up: the root chakra, sacral, solar plexus, chest. There's different colors associated with each chakra, and like the chest chakra is green. I love that. Yeah, and the throat chakra is blue, and the crown is purple, or third eye is purple.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm still studying.
That's beautiful. Yeah, in a way, the music is the center point, but everything that needs to be done to support it, it's a huge learning curve, and I don't think there's any school apart from the school of life that gets you to that point. Something I found is I didn't realize I needed to work on my inner struggles or have a meditation practice until it got so bad that I was in a disastrous place. I don't know if, are you quite in tune? Do you think, oh, I'm feeling a bit like this, I need to put this into practice? Are you quite in tune with yourself, or are you a bit stubborn like me and you think, no, I can do it, until you get to a point where you really can't do it?
I'm pretty stubborn. I'll let myself get pretty close to the rails before I reel it back in.
Right.
I do have to say that, like, I've learned a lot from like Eleanor, from watching Eleanor, her being the older sibling.
Not our elder sissy.
Well, I would see her being able to strive for something or going for the perfection, and I would see her kind of like have almost the spiraling out when things didn't work out that way. And I didn't want to do that to myself. So I kind of always sit first with the idea of like forgiving myself and loving myself regardless.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the first night I met you was in Austin. Loved you straight away. You're just so lovable, so wonderful, and so inspiring as well, because I love the way both of you, you're present and you're direct. And that is such a gift, because I find sometimes it's really difficult to read people and it's confusing. And I love that you're so present. For anyone that's just coming online here, we're live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook with Bonnie and Eleanor Whitmore, who are, sorry, do people get that wrong quite a lot?
Yes, actually, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Masterson and Whitmore are just, they come out wrong for some people. It's funny.
Yes.
Well, we have friends that like to refer to us as like Whitman, just
We
as a
have
joke.
actually jokes about Bobby Whitman.
I'm Bobby Whitman.
Bobby Whitman. Yeah, because Masterson, that's probably your name that I first knew, Eleanor, when Chris Bynum introduced us. But this leads me very, very easily onto my next question, which is, how are you at making mistakes? And what's your process of forgiving yourself? Because I make mistakes a lot and normally get out the whip, you know, flagellation of the self. So, yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about your process with making mistakes, even on a gig, and how you cope with that, and what's your inner dialogue.
Yeah. Okay. I just basically from the get-go, I have issues even speaking. So like mixing up words or whatever. So I already kind of have this like feeling that I did something wrong or I made a mistake. Like it's not hard to convince me that I did something wrong because it happens so often. So like I have to come to a better understanding of that for myself in order to like not constantly berate myself for my shortcomings.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I berate myself all the time.
I'm still struggling with that. And I know that the answer is to get to know and embrace and love yourself. But as a perfectionist, it's really hard because you're just constantly striving for something better. And like, you know, Bonnie and I have some really beautiful vocal takes on this record, and I have started to learn how to edit and comp these vocals, and I just get into these K-holes where I'm just like, this is terrible, this sucks, and then when I walk away from it and come back and listen, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Right?
It's really easy to lose perspective and when you're beating yourself up. So
I also just feel like because of our instrumentations, like as the bass player in the band, you are kind of like the heartbeat you're dependent on, you know, in that regard.
Yeah.
So you have to be there. And so when you make mistakes, it is evident. Like you just have like I just had to get to that point where I'm like, yeah, totally, that was my club, you know, like just being okay with the wrong notes as they get to the right notes, right?
Yeah.
Bonnie's good at faking yourself. She really is. She's very good at just kind of like gliding on into the right spot where you almost believe the mistake.
Well, I always smile. That's my. If you see me smile, I'll be like, "Yep, that was me." You know, I just lean into it. And I'm like,
You gotta own it.
I own my mistakes. That's the thing. I do try to own them, so that way they don't have as much control over me.
That's true.
That is such a cool idea. I think I need to have a little bit more confidence with my mistakes because I go into, oh no, panic mode. Yeah, I have to say, I've heard both of you play live, and if I could rub off a little bit of your tuning on me, because both of you are so in tune all the time. How do you do it?
Pitch.
Well, I have my nickname is the pitch.
Brilliant.
But I sing out of tune all the time. I'm telling you, I'm like going through these vocal takes just like, oh my God.
No, never heard it. I have to tell you, Eleanor, I've never heard one note out of tune. Yeah.
It happens.
And with your arrangements, Bonnie, you normally singing the lower part and Eleanor above, or do you sometimes switch around?
We switch it around.
We're switching it around. It's funny. I was just reading the Saint and Israel, the Lubin brothers, Charlie Lubin's autobiography about he and his brother, and there's a line in there or about a conversation about them switching parts. Like they know each other so well as siblings, they know the weaknesses in each other's voice and where the other person gets too low, and they'll just cross over and switch parts. And it's a really great way to solve a vocal arrangement when you're like, that note's too low for me. Can you hit it? Okay, great. And we'll just.
There's funny because there's been times on this even it's like I would almost want to say like, can you tell who's who?
Yeah,
like,
actually, we have an engineer friend who's always like, you guys are the same. I can't hear the difference.
Have either of you ever heard the other sing on a line or on a song and think it's yourself?
There's actually, we both sang on Kelly Willis's last record, and on what is it, Backbeat Blue, and it's both of us sang on it, and you really can't tell which of us is which.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's amazing. There's this timbre that just comes from the same genetics somehow. And I'm so excited about your new record because I'm such a big fan of both of you individually. So the thought I'm going to get to hear you together is just mega. Can I ask about the women who have personally or professionally inspired you and why?
There's a lot of them. I would say professionally, growing up in Texas, the Dixie Chicks, obviously. We have a little connection there. We both played with Susan Gibson, who wrote Wide Open Spaces. And Susan was, definitely one of those songwriters that she wasn't afraid of to have two Whitmores in her band.
That's a statement right there.
So that's pretty strong. Another artist, Terry Hendricks, has always been super supportive of us, and the whole reason why I have this girl gig is because his now ex-wife Allison, she hired me first, and then he heard me play and was like, "Ooh, well, I guess I better have her in the band too."
Amazing.
And so I have to thank Allison. Bliss is a big one. Kelly, gosh, I love singing harmony with her, and she's always been like, she loves the Skeeter Davis. Does a lot of those two harmonies, the two female voices, and so I've always had so much fun singing with her, and getting to do this with Bonnie. Our mother is a big one.
Yes, your mum.
Officer and
Marty.
She would always tell us we were doing something incorrectly.
Oh, would she? Is your mum Marty?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's an opera singer.
Yeah.
Wow. You're women of many talents. Isn't it true, Bonnie, that you're also a licensed pilot?
Oh, we both are.
You
and
both
my mom.
are.
That was a requirement in the Whitmore family. You all have to have your pilot's license.
My goodness, it's amazing. Wow. So, and every one of you flies.
Mm-hmm.
The family. It's so impressive. Yeah. And how about for you, Bonnie? I read that when you were talking about your album, that you've been told to shut up and sing, which was what the Dixies were told. And I love what you said. If I may quote you, I'm just going to sing what I want to talk about. Love that.
Yeah, I mean, that I kind of, and it also applies in with the. I'm not always very good at saying what I want to say anyway, so it's a lot easier for me to just put it in song form. So and it's been a form of songwriting has been a form of therapy for me also, but I've also been trying to reincorporate it in order to have to create a space for other people to have tough conversations.
Yeah.
Which is why I wrote a song about a pop song about rape culture, and make it a sing-along. Those are things that most people would be like, that's a terrible idea, but it's like, hold on, let me see if I can do it first. But I also same with Eleanor. It's like being in the Texas music scene, it was so predominantly male that being able to see somebody like Terry Hendricks or Susan Gibson, both of these women weren't being objectified. They were being included in the songwriting and the musicianship. And that was a really, really good thing for us to be able to witness, because you're constantly being told you can't be too fat. You have to look a certain way, smile more, all of those things that we're constantly judged by our outer appearance. So having women like that who also champion us was a huge deal. And with a mom who I mean, her two favorite things growing up were if the mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, and don't make mommy mad. You know, like.
Well, our mom is super intimidating, and she kind of like, I don't know, like I can remember when I was in grade school, we went to a cafeteria, and I was like, Mom, the tea lady never asks me if I want a refill, and I want a refill, and she always fills up your drinks, and she ignores me. And she was like, well, if you have a problem with it, you should talk to the manager. And I was like, no, that's okay. And she got the manager, and she's like, my daughter has something to say to you.
Incredible. And how did you feel in that moment?
I was got really shy and didn't really want to say anything, but you know, I was also like scared that my mom was going to be pissed if I didn't express myself. So
she was very forceful in wanting us to be very, and it worked. You know, it definitely had the desired effect. But I think because we had such strong female role models in our life, it has allowed us to be, you know, not so candid with our words and being very honest with how we are and who we are, which, you know, is a blessing.
It's a huge blessing, and I really appreciate it. And so thank you, Marty, for installing these really positive elements.
Honestly, thank you, Hattie. I will say that we have been a big fan of yours and your sisters for a long time, and it made me so happy to hear from you yesterday and to I really admire you for championing other women and for celebrating International Women's Day and trying to bring some of these conversations to light, because it's really important. And we're such fans of yours. So,
oh, thank you so much. Well, I have to say, you know, I've struggled at times because when I was on tour, it was very much a male environment, and I had quite a lot of anxiety on stage. And if I'd, you know, known you both or had women on tour that I could have talked with, I think it would have been easier. I did talk with some of the guys on the tour, but I think if I'd had, you know, a fellowship and this friendship that we have now, I think it would have been easier. And that's one of the reasons why I'm beginning these conversations, because to connect and share, if someone else hears that two people that are as brilliant, accomplished and inspiring as you both have struggled with different elements, it somehow lessens the burden in yourself. You feel like, oh, I'm not the only one. I struggle with these things too. You're not alone. And also, as I said earlier, being an artist, this dichotomy, being a human is the dichotomy, being out in the world, being sensitive, but being tough enough to survive the knocks and hits. Yeah. Just touching into some of the Facebook comments here, we've Denise, she was saying, yes, even mistakes are valuable if we treat them as opportunities for improvement or learning and not things to be punished.
100%.
Yeah, that punishment is very hard. Yeah, and thank you so much, Eleanor, for your kind words, because I'm just so glad you said yes, because I love having chats, and actually I think we'll be doing this more often. Maybe just
yeah.
I need to give it. What do I do with this? Yeah,
we're always your backup calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime there's something going on, just like, oh, hold on, let me check in with the Whitmores.
Hold on, I'm just going to dial up my gals. So can I ask just a couple more questions before we close?
Sure. Our producer might kill us because I know we need to head to the studio soon, so let's keep it short.
Okay,
short and sweet.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short. So one first little question is, how have your experiences and your feelings shown you what's most important to you? What are your most important values?
I guess I keep coming back to family being one of the most important things. It's like one of those I don't know. My parents have taught us so much. The whole reason why we do what we do and why we had the confidence to do what we do and the freedom to do what we do is because of their support and their openness. There's not a lot of parents that, you know, they want you to go to college. They want you to be a lawyer or be successful. And I feel really grateful for their support. And I don't know, I'm a little spoiled, really, because I can't, a lot of people haven't had the same support from their family.
I think that because of that opportunity that they were almost over supportive in this idea of like us being able to play music, and in part because that wasn't something that they had from their parents.
Yeah.
So just being able to have the freedom to not have to go against them made it a lot easier for us to pursue this. But at the same time, it's like there's so many things that are normal for others that isn't part of our lexicon. Like, I know this isn't true for a lot of people, but you know, if being able to have a family and have that supported is not something that's easy to do in this industry, and there's not a lot of resources or things that make that easier for us.
Yeah, that's definitely been kind of like, you know, I'm 43 and basically
How to make a choice
at the end of the possibility of, you know, having a child. And it's not something that I recognize that there's a part of me that does want to be a mother, but there's a larger part of me that wants other things in life more. Yeah. And that's a difficult thing for a woman that is focused on her career to have to come to terms with and come to grips with. I know that my parents are probably disappointed that neither one of us seem to be attracted to motherhood.
But also they're supportive of us doing that. Like even though they may have disappointment, it's not something that's being constantly, you know, forced for us or said repeatedly to make us not feel like we're making the right decisions for ourselves.
It just kind of sucks though. Like as a mid-level artist, like it really is kind of impossible to be a mother and have a successful career. You really kind of have to be to the level of having a tour bus, hiring a nanny, you know, being able to just tour in the summertime and then have your kid go back to school in the fall. And, you know, as an artist that's trying to build your career and build your fan base, and you've got to be out there on the road, and now the road has been taken away. So I'm not really sure how we're supposed to build this, but you know, it's having a family on the road is pretty impossible. And I've seen so many artists who say and think that they're going to be able to do it. And then, you know, about the time that the kid needs to go to school around 5, they usually hang it up and focus on the child. So
I feel that way about our mom. You know, I think that, you know, she was in a position of pursuing her own career.
She had a full ride to Juilliard, and she married my dad and had us. And I think, you know, when I hear recordings of her when she was in her 20s, I mean, she would have been the next Beverly Sills. She was just incredible. And so, you know, it means a lot that she hung all that up to raise us as she did. But I also know that, I mean, she probably has some regret for the career that she didn't have, and I'll probably have some regret for the family that I never had. You know, so it's important to kind of recognize those things so that you don't like.
It's good to talk about it and just be honest about it, because it is a choice. It is. You have to make a choice between one or the other. It's not easy to do both.
No, I totally hear you on that. It's
that's not something that men typically have the problem with. Men can have as many children as they want. It's never an issue.
No, I hear you, and yeah, I know what you mean, Eleanor. That there's only so much you can do, and if you don't have the support of having the tour bus with the nanny, or how to tour if you are breastfeeding, or all of these questions.
I remember seeing Kelly Willis.
Yeah.
She was breastfeeding, and her milk came in right in the middle of the performance. Like, I just can't, you know, it's amazing what what you have to. There are a lot of women that do it, and I'm like extremely in awe of them for their ability. I just don't see a way for myself.
Yeah, I really understand that. So last question, as I know you have to get back into the studio for this amazing new Whitmore Sisters record. I'm so excited. So can you talk about a day that you look back on with joy, a recent piece of music you love, and what you're looking forward to? Threefold.
Okay, well, I'm going to volunteer this one. Us being able to see you perform with Tom Petty at the Rose Bowl on the side of the stage. Her birthday celebration, so it was a lot of combinations of things. That was definitely
a huge moment of joy. That was like top of the bucket list to see Tom Petty live, but like to have it be like on the side of the stage, watching the Wet Sisters, like, oh my gosh, that was one of the highlights. I think that was like a huge moment of joy.
We're always wanting to be on the stage, just to be able to have that experience and see what, just being that close to someone that we also just always admired too. So it was mind blowing. That was definitely a moment of joy.
Wow.
What was that? Yeah, like 6 parts for that question.
Yeah, it's so complex. So the next part was a recent piece of music that you love or something you keep coming back to.
So both of us are friends and have done some co-writing with Erin Tashin, who has an amazing new record out right now. I was texting with him. We were talking about trying to write a song for this Whitmore record, and then he had this other song that fit the vibe perfectly, and it's called Big Heart, Sick Mind.
Wow.
Big Heart, Sick Mind.
No, I don't think
I love
it. So it's like the funnest song ever. It's got so much energy. It's got great ranges, and it's super fun to sing together. So I keep getting that one stuck in my head.
So cool.
Pretty pumped about that. And also Erin's new record I've got on repeat lately. So it's really good. Is that a good?
Amazing.
I agree.
Love it. Okay, and then the final part of the spider leg was, what are you looking forward to? I know what I'm looking forward to. Release
making this record.
Sisters album. But yeah, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to making this record.
Yeah, we're gonna go in and track the bass and the drums today, and get started on these rhythm tracks. So
we probably need to go soon. Like,
yes, yeah. I think that
we're still looking forward to it. We're like, okay, and back.
Oh, we gotta go.
Bye. See ya. Amazing. Well, I'm so excited about your record. Will you keep me posted how you're going? And I'd love to post about it on my socials as well.
Oh, thanks for bringing light to it, and thanks for bringing light to these women's issues, and for celebrating International Women's Day and having these conversations. It's really important so that we can get some more equal footing and empower women.
Yeah. More lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Creating more community, lifting each other up. That's really what I want to see more of. Can we really Lilith Fair? Make that happen?
Why? Lilith Fair needs to be an international.
Absolutely.
I want Brandy Carlisle to just like go ahead and just do it.
She could curate.
Come on, Brandy. Come on, Alanis. Oh, I love them. Okay, well, if anyone, dial them up. Whoever knows them, get them.
Let's make it happen.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you so much, Eleanor, and very best of luck. And keep your eyes peeled, everyone, for the new Whitmore Sisters album. Really excited. Thank you both, wonderful ladies.
Thank you, Hattie. We love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Big hug. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for signing in today. Thank you for your comments. I know Melaine Poetry, thank you so much for talking about what you were saying about discussing depression. Yeah, that really helps to discuss it in a community. Thank you so much for saying that. Elaine, poetry. And thank you, Art Schwab, for saying about Dr. Herbert Benson, cardiologist, deep muscle relaxation, deep breathing. Yeah, definitely need some of that. Thank you. Thank you to Janet Rios, to Denise, Mara, Francoise, Mike, Emma, Janet, Nicholas, Eleanor O'Shea, Frank, Nikki, Randy, thank you so much for being online with us. Greta, John, Clover, and Gwen. Really appreciate everyone signing up for tonight. And we're going to be going live every evening. So if you would like to join for some more conversations, we will be going up until International Women's Day on Monday. Thank you so much. Many blessings to all of you. Over and out. Bye.